Good morning, students. In the last class, I think we're discussing about the small intestine, and I have told you about the concept of villi in the small intestine. And if you notice in the fourth point, I think in the fifth point, I have mentioned that villi are small finger-like projections, finger-like microscopic projections present in the small intestine, and they help in the absorption of food. Now, what happens? Now, I'll tell you the role of villi in the small intestine. Since they are finger-like microscopic structures, they help in the absorption of food. What basically means by absorption is the food is carried from the small intestine to the bloodstream. Ultimately, whatever you eat, it has to reach the bloodstream, right? So, whatever is present in the small intestine, they are absorbed into the bloodstream, and that is done more efficiently by the villi. They are small microscopic structures, and they increase the surface area for absorption. Now, if you see the villi, I'll just give you an example of villi. Just a minute. Say you have this wire thread. Now, this thread, if you coil it like this, and I hope you are able to see this, you can see that this looks like exactly like a villi. This is how a villi looks inside the small intestine. So what is happening here? The surface area is increased. Initially, if you see this in this way, the surface area is less. But if you fold it, the surface area increases. The available surface area increases. That is what is happening in the small intestine. The surface area is increased by the presence of villi. So, as I just said, they are present in the small intestine, and they are richly supplied with the blood vessels. From the villi, from the small intestine, they are connected to the blood vessels. And finally, the absorbed food will enter into the blood from the small intestine. That is the role of the villi. In the exam, if you are asked, please mention that the villi increase the surface area for absorption of food from the small intestine to the bloodstream. Please see that. Please take a note of this. You should be very appropriate in your answer. Now, after the villi, we will now go to the next organ, which is not a part of the alimentary canal, but is an important organ without which digestion is not possible. The liver is not a part of the alimentary canal, but it is the largest gland of the body. The largest gland, it weighs around 1.5 kg. It is mentioned in the point. You can see that 1.5 kg is its weight, and it is the largest gland of the body. So basically, it supports digestion. It is not involved directly in digestion. It supports the digestive process. So what does it do is it secretes bile juice. The liver secretes bile juice. But you have to remember that the liver can only secrete bile juice, can only produce bile juice. The storing is done by the gallbladder. The bile juice is stored in the gallbladder. It is produced by the liver but stored in the gallbladder. And the bile juice, it is mechanized to digest lipids and fats. It will always digest fats and lipids that are present in your body into their simpler forms. And as you know, I have already discussed in the previous slide that fats and lipids, they can be converted or simplified or broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. So that is the simplified form of fats and lipids. Fats and lipids are complex forms. So they will be digested into fatty acid and glycerol by the bile juice present in the liver. But they are produced by the liver, please remember, but they are stored in the gallbladder. Moreover, I would also want to say that the bile juice contains some pigments in it. One of the most important pigment that the bile juice contains is the bilirubin. Bilirubin is a important pigment present in the bile juice, and this bilirubin plays an important factor in the formation of a disease called as jaundice. You must have heard about this. The body becomes yellowish. So it is from that it is very clear that bilirubin is a yellow color pigment, and excess of bilirubin in your body gives rise to a disease called as jaundice. So it is very harmful if the bilirubin somehow it goes high in your body. Next we go to the next organ called as the pancreas. Pancreas is the second largest gland of the body. It is also a gland. It is not a part of the digestive system, but it supports digestion again. How does it support digestion? It produces pancreatic juice. The liver used to produce bile juice. It produces pancreatic juice. Now, here one important thing that I should mention here is the pancreas behaves as a heterocrine gland. Hetero means it can behave in many ways. So, heterocrine gland means it can behave as an endocrine gland as well as an exocrine gland. I don't know whether you know about endocrine gland or not, but I would like to tell you in detail that endocrine glands are those glands who produce their or release their secretions directly into the blood. They release their secretions directly into the blood, the endocrine glands. And the endocrine glands, they secrete, what do they secrete? They secrete hormones. So that means the hormones are secreted from the endocrine glands directly into the bloodstream without passing through any duct. It does not pass through any pipe or duct. It directly releases, the endocrine glands, they release directly their secretions into the bloodstream without passing through the duct. Those are endocrine glands. We have endocrine glands just like the thyroid gland present in the throat. That pancreas is also an endocrine gland. And when the pancreas behaves as an endocrine gland, it produces insulin. As you know, insulin is an important hormone and maintains the blood glucose level in the body. So that is done by the endocrine part of the pancreas.